Please be seated. Thank you very much. You, law enforcement, in particular, public safety folks generally, we're about to lose a great ally. I've worked with a lot of attorney generals in my career, and I've said in a different context, some of my congressional buddies have heard me say this before, I trust those in public life who get to the right place when it starts in their gut, goes to their heart, and then is able to articulate it because they're bright as can be. The guys and women who arrive at it intellectually, when things get really rough, sometimes they don't always stick. The thing about Eric, and we've been friends for a long, long time, is that he feels it, he tastes it, he understands what your jobs are. Like he said, having a brother in law enforcement, but he gets it, and it matters. It matters a lot in public policy, and it matters a lot in the way we've enforced public policy in Democrat and Republican administrations. And so, Eric, we're going to miss you a lot. And your instinct has always been right, in my view, and I'm going to miss you. And speaking of good instincts, you got Peter King, Jimmy Duncan, Rick Nolan, Robin Kelly, all here. They all get it, too. They understand it. They've been with you. It's kind of interesting, I find. Everyone's with you in public life, but there's a few people who kind of feel it, who kind of taste it, understand it. And the people I just referenced, in both political parties, they get it. It's been my honor over so many years of doing this job to be with the law enforcement and firefighting communities in multiple occasions. And as I was sitting back there listening to Eric, I thought to myself, I probably attended too many memorial services. I was able last month to have the honor of speaking at the funeral of New York City Detective Rafael Ramos, and then go visit the family of his colleague, Detective Wei-Zhen Liu, and meet his family. Those of you who are firefighters, some of you were with me when we were out in Phoenix, Arizona, honoring the lives and the families of the 19 Granite Mountain hotshots who lost their life, who ran into danger, knowing that it was really going to be difficult to come out. I don't know how many times I've joined you in the bittersweet recognition of a fallen firefighters, fallen police officers. I don't know how many times I've been over the years at when we honored the Peace Officer Memorial event up in the Capitol. A lot of you have been there. A lot of my colleagues have been there. And to me, it is always difficult. Even when we're honoring people today who have lived to tell the story of what they've done for us, because it reminds us how tough the job was that you all have, whether you're a firefighter or you're a police officer. But it's equally as much an honor to be here today, to meet a group of women and men who have put their lives on the line for their fellow officers in the community. And we use those phrases, put their lives on the line, like it's almost, it gets said so much, it almost loses its meaning. Who had the guts, who had the fortitude, who had the resilience to actually know what they were about to do might very well cost them their lives. That's a different deal. That's more than putting your life on the line. It's knowing, that feeling you get inside, but you react instinctively. So I want to thank you for allowing me to continue to be part of this important recognition that occurs every year. To all of you here today, I say congratulations on receiving this great honor. And we all wish there's more we could do than just merely honor you and give you a medal, which I'm going to have the privilege of doing in a few minutes. Every one of you, fireman, sheriff, federal agent, patrolman, small town departments, major cities, all of you are cut from the same cloth. It's kind of amazing to me. All of you have been singled out because of your extraordinary devotion to duty, your heroism, which you don't consciously think about. You just, you just did. You didn't sit there and say, well, now's my time to be a hero, man. Now's my time to go out and do something special. It's just instinctive. You always run to the sound of danger. Instinctively, you don't run away from it. You run to it. Even though you know, whether you're a rookie or you've been doing it for 25 years, even though you know, anything can be on the other end. You put your lives in a position where you put somebody else's life above yours. You know, confronting the terrorism in the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing, I see a lot of my old friends. I got to meet them on a couple occasions in Boston, both when we had the memorial service and that young officer at MIT who was on the MIT police force, or whether it was a year later when we recognized the anniversary of the marathon and ran it again. It's a remarkable thing what you guys did and do, but it also says an awful lot about the place from which you come. Think about the Boston Marathon happening in almost any other place other than in America, and how the city just came back without retribution, without recrimination. It just said, not us. You all reflect I know it sounds corny, you all reflect a piece of America. Every one of you out there, who we train our kids to think that that's who we are. But you're a reflection of it. Halting a mass shooting at a Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, or saving a 5-year-old from a vicious kidnapper in Midland City, Alabama. You heard shots inside a home in Duluth, and you entered without concern for your own safety, thinking only of what was happening to that hostage inside. You dove into the murky waters of a California campground to rescue a drowning victim. You plunged into the current of a Florida river to halt a brutal stabbing in progress. You climbed into the flames of a burning New York home to rescue an elderly woman. Why? I know it was your duty. But in each of those cases, the odds were not real great. Whether it was facing a hail of gunfire to rescue 3 narcotics agents in Utah, or dragging a state trooper from a burning car in Knoxville, the interesting thing about y'all is y'all acted instinctively, without hesitation. It wasn't like you sat back and said, you know, I wonder whether this is the right thing for me to do. Every one of you acted consistent with your training and above what you were trained to do. The thing that always amazes me about y'all is that when you've been singled out for recognition, as I said, I've been doing this a long, long time. Whether you're a firefighter or a cop, and I say, congratulations, you look at me, every one of you, and just say, almost all of you say the same thing in different accents. Whether it's from the deep south or from that place where that fella on Long Island lives. Y'all talk funny, you know? I'm only joking. But no matter what the accent, you all say the same thing. You say, Mr. Vice President or Senator or Joe, I was just doing my job. You're an amazing bunch of individuals. I try to explain to people being a firefighter or a law enforcement officer is not what you all do. It's who you are. And you've always been what you are. It's kind of stamped in your DNA. To your parents who are here, I say thank you. Thank you for the standard you set for these women and men. Something about them made them want to do this. And most of you kind of knew it for a long time. From the time you were kids, most of you knew it. You may not know you're going to be a cop or a firefighter. You knew you were going to do something that was bigger than you. I don't know all of you personally, but I know you. You're the guys and women I grew up with in Scranton and Claymont. You're the ones who, when it was 3-on-1, you jumped into the fight to help the one. You're the ones who stood up for the kid being bullied. You're the ones who, as you got older, volunteered to help whatever it was needed to be done. You're the ones now who still go out and line the Little League field. You're the ones that go to the PAL organizations and work with kids when you're off duty. You're the ones who tuck your kids in bed at night and kiss them goodnight to walk out of some godforsaken, difficult neighborhoods to protect other kids. I know you, and I owe you. As we say in the Senate, if you forgive a point of personal privilege, your jaws of life saved my 2 sons from a fatal car accident. Your immediate response to my home saved my home and my wife inside my home. Your willingness to show up at my doorstep in the middle of a snowstorm and drive me about 115 miles to Walter Reed Hospital saved my life. Today, we honor you, not just for your bravery, but for your professionalism, your commitment, the example you give to everybody else. But the saddest part of the day is Special Agent John Capano of Seaford, New York, and Chicago Police Officer Clinton Lewis. They're not here to hear what we have to say about them. They're hearing what we have to say about them, but they're not here. Special Agent Capano, Clifton Lewis in Chicago, they acted in the face of armed robberies, gave their lives in the process. But it's no surprise to you guys receiving honors today, they were off duty. They didn't have to. They didn't have to respond. Everybody else, when they're off duty, they're off duty. Turn out the light at the desk. You punch out at the factory. You're not running back in when it's burning. But you guys, they were off duty. Your husband was off duty. To John's son, Michael, you're your father's son, old buddy. His blood runs in your veins. Same with your sis. He's going to be part of you guys your whole life. Your whole life. And Clifton's mom, Maxine, our heart aches for you, Mom. We know that no child should ever predecease his parent. It's a tough, tough, tough thing. And to John's wife, Dory, and Clifton's fiance, Tamara, I admire your courage being here. I know it's been 3 years, but I also know from personal experience these events like this for all the family members of the lost officers is really bittersweet because it reminds you, it brings everything back home as if it happened again today. So we owe you. We owe you for your courage of being here. But I know it's not easy. And I'm sure you've already experienced the truth of that inscription that's written on a headstone in Ireland my mom talked about. I've never seen the headstone, but there's an inscription that says, "Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal. No one can ever steal the memory of your husband, your father, your son. And I hope you find some solace in the fact that you've already experienced. You're part of a community that will never, ever let you down. This community here, these firefighters and law enforcement officers, they will never, as long as you're alive, ever not be there for you. It's a hell of a fraternity and sorority. It's a hell of a group of people. So I hope you found some solace in knowing that you're part of that incredible community. So I want not only to thank John and Clifton's family, but all the families who are here today. Those moms and dads who taught the values of these folks we're honoring today. You know, it takes a special person to marry a firefighter or a law enforcement officer, because you know going in what you're getting into. Because when you do, you're marrying the job, not just the man or the woman. You're marrying the job. How many times have you spouses sat in that step in front of your house when the city lights have gone out and turned to your husband or wife holding your kids and say, we'll be fine. Go do your job. Go do your job. What you all understand, and most people don't, the Attorney General does, watching his brother, every time these women and men put on that badge, respond to a fire call, you know anything could happen. But you do it every day. You support them every day. So I mean it when I say it, and I speak for the President when I say this. We not only admire the women and men we're honoring today, but we thank the families. And that's not an idle, it's not like thank, we really mean it. We really, really mean it. All of you and all the families of our deployed military, every single time they're out there, you know, you think. Every time that phone rings at an unusual moment, you wonder. So we owe you big. The English poet John Milton once wrote, "They also serve who only stand and wait." They also serve who only stand and wait. Standing and waiting is hard, especially when it's day after day after day after day. So to the families, you're a remarkable group of people. There's no group of women or men more driven by an innate sense of loyalty and responsibility than the women and men we honor here today. You're a rare breed. You're all crazy. We love you for it. We need you. You are the best thing we have going for us. So to all of you, I say God bless you. May God protect our police and firefighters and their families. And I'm looking forward to having the honor of pinning on or putting this medal around the neck of each and every one of you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you, Vice President Biden, and we are truly grateful for your leadership and for your continued strong support of our nation's public safety officers. It is now my honor to confer the Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor on our honorees. I'll read the first citation, then ask that that recipient come forward to receive the medal and certificate. Then I will do the same for the remaining recipients. In the case of our fallen honorees, I'll ask that their family members or agency representatives accepting on their behalf come forward. We'll first confer the 2011-2012 medals, then the 2012 to 2013 medals. The first recipient of the 2011-2012 Medal of Valor is Sergeant Nathan Hutchinson of the Weber County Sheriff's Office in Ogden, Utah. Sergeant Hutchinson, an officer with the Weber Morgan Narcotics Strike Force, receives the award for his heroic actions in rescuing fellow officers on January 4, 2012, when agents served a search warrant at a home in Ogden, Utah. Once inside the home, the agents came under fire. Agent Sean Grogan was shot in the face and was helped out by another agent. Agents Casey Burrell and Jared Frankham were also shot multiple times and were left disabled and unconscious. As he dragged Agent Burrell to safety, Sergeant Hutchinson returned fire and was shot 3 times by the assailant. He then re-entered the home to rescue Agent Frankham, returning fire until his ammunition was exhausted. Sergeant Hutchinson was able to get both agents out of the house. Sadly, Agent Frankham died a few hours later. Agent Burrell suffered wounds to his stomach and forehead. Sergeant Hutchinson sustained 3 gunshot wounds that have left him with permanent injuries. The assailant, however, was taken into custody. Thank you, Sergeant Hutchinson, and congratulations. Our next recipient of the 2011-2012 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is Officer Andrew Michael Keith of the Knoxville, Tennessee Police Department. Officer Keith receives the award for his swift and heroic actions on March 13, 2012, in response to a burning Tennessee Highway Patrol car. After a collision with a truck, the car's driver, Sergeant Lowell Russell, was unconscious and trapped inside the vehicle. When Officer Keith reached the scene, he radioed dispatch for the fire department and used his shirt to beat back the flames while trying to reach the injured trooper. When he reached Sergeant Russell, he kept the flames away from the injured man while 2 citizens aided in cutting him from his seatbelt. Once they had freed him, Officer Keith took control of the scene and kept people away from the vehicle, which exploded from a discharge of ammunition. Due to the quick and courageous actions of Officer Keith and concerned citizens, Sergeant Russell survived the accident and began rehabilitation a few weeks later. He traveled here today to help us honor Officer Keith. Thank you, Officer Keith, and congratulations. The next recipient of the 2011-2012 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is Lieutenant Bradley Allen Wick of the Duluth, Minnesota Police Department. Lieutenant Wick receives the award for his heroic actions during the chase of a convicted felon and his female companion on August 28, 2011, a day after they had committed armed robbery and carjacking. The chase ended in a residential area where the felon and his companion entered a home and shot the female occupant. Lieutenant Wick, who was a sergeant at the time, entered the home with his canine partner, Abe, and was ambushed by gunfire. He returned the fire and managed to fatally wound the felon. The home's resident survived her injury. Thank you, Lieutenant Wick, and congratulations. The next 2011-2012 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is presented posthumously to Senior Special Agent John Francis Capano of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Agent Capano receives the award for his heroic actions on December 31, 2011, during an armed robbery attempt of a pharmacy by a convicted felon who had recently been released from prison. Agent Campano, who was off duty at the time, confronted the suspect, chased him outside, and engaged in a struggle for his gun. An off-duty New York City police officer and a retired Nassau County police officer also responded to the scene. Special Agent Campano was struck in the chest by a bullet and was later pronounced dead at an area hospital. The suspect was also shot and died at the scene. We pay a debt of honor to Special Agent Campano, who made the ultimate sacrifice. Accepting him for him are his wife, Doria, and his son, John, and daughter, Natalie. Director Jones will join us in presenting the award. Please join us in welcoming the family of Special Agent Campano. The next 2011-2012 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is presented posthumously to Chicago Police Department Officer Clifton P. Lewis. Officer Lewis receives the award for his heroic actions on December 29, 2011. He was working off-duty at a local grocery store when two armed and masked gunmen entered with a semi-automatic weapon demanding money. Officer Lewis announced that he was an officer and moved to shield other employees as he drew his weapon. Officer Lewis was struck 4 times by the assailant's bullets and ultimately succumbed to his wounds. He died after protecting the store's employees and customers, none of whom were harmed. For giving his life in defense of others, we honor Officer Lewis. Accepting on his behalf is his mother, Maxine Hooks, and his fiancée, Tamara Tucker. Thank you. The next recipient of the 2011-2012 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is Sergeant Michael Darrell Brown, retired, of the Brevard County, Florida Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Brown receives the award for his heroic actions in saving the life of a woman during an attempted murder by her estranged boyfriend. On September 6, 2011, Sergeant Brown noticed a couple fighting inside a speeding vehicle on an interstate highway. He pursued the vehicle until the driver abruptly drove it into the Indian River, where it stopped in waist-deep water, approximately 100 feet from shore. Sergeant Brown radioed for fire rescue units, then rushed into the water toward the partially submerged vehicle, where the man was stabbing the woman repeatedly. Sergeant Brown managed to get close enough to fire 6 shots at the suspect without hitting the victim. He then broke the passenger window, pulled the victim from the vehicle, and carried her to shore, where paramedics began administering aid. After medical treatment, surgery, and a long hospital stay, the victim survived and recovered from her injuries. The assailant died as a result of his wounds. Thank you, Sergeant Brown, and congratulations. We now turn to the presentations of the 2012-2013 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor. The first recipients are Lieutenant Brian Murphy, retired, and Officer Savon Lenda of the Oak Creek, Wisconsin Police Department. Lieutenant Murphy and Officer Lenda received the award for their valiant and selfless actions during a shooting at the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin on August 15, 2012. Responding to numerous calls about a disturbance at the temple, Lieutenant Murphy saw 2 injured victims and the suspect running out of the building. When he drew his weapon, the suspect fired at him, hitting him in the throat, hand, and legs. When Officer Lenda arrived, he began firing at the suspect, striking and partially disabling the man, who then crawled out of sight. Shortly thereafter, they heard a single shot as the suspect took his own life. Unaware of whether there were additional suspects, Officer Lenda drove to the location of the shot and determined that the suspect was dead. He sent the other officers to Lieutenant Murphy, who, though wounded, waved them off and directed them to help those in the temple. It was later learned that the suspect had fired at least 6 rounds in the pantry area where many women and children were hiding. He then fled the building when Lieutenant Murphy arrived. The time of the first call and to the moment Officer Lenda incapacitated the suspect was about 6 minutes. The selfless actions of both Lieutenant Murphy and Officer Lenda prevented further injury and helped save many lives. Thank you both, and congratulations. The next recipients of the 2012-2013 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor are 7 servants from the Watertown, Massachusetts Police and Fire Departments: Sergeants John McClellan, Jeffrey Pugiles, Officers Joseph Reynolds, Timothy Menton, and Miguel Colon, Jr., and firefighters James Caruso and Patrick Menton. They received this award for their courageous efforts in protecting their community and saving the life of one of their own during a firefight on April 19, 2013, with 2 suspects from the Boston Marathon bombing. On April 18, Watertown police were notified that a campus officer at Massachusetts Institute of Technology had been shot and killed in the neighboring city of Cambridge, and that the perpetrators were at large. The following day, Sergeant McClellan and Officer Reynolds spotted a vehicle that had been taken during a carjacking, unaware that they were about to encounter the men who were responsible for killing 3 people and injuring more than 260 others just days earlier during the Boston Marathon, then killing the MIT officer. The suspects began firing rounds at the officers, piercing the windshield and shattering glass in Sergeant McClellan's face. Sergeant McClellan left the vehicle and allowed it to move forward, providing cover for the other officers as they tried to apprehend the suspects, one of whom threw an improvised explosive device and both of whom fired heavy weapons. When the officers Colon and Timothy Menton arrived on the scene, one suspect charged at them. Sergeant McClellan and Officer Reynolds helped Sergeant Pugiles apprehend him. Meanwhile, the other suspect drove the stolen car towards them. They were able to jump clear of the speeding vehicle as the second suspect ran over the first and continued to flee, dragging the other's body. Officer Menton went to the aid of a transit police officer who had been wounded in the exchange and was bleeding profusely. While one hand was applying pressure to control the bleeding, he used his other hand to radio for medical assistance. Meanwhile, firefighters Caruso and Patrick Menton responded in an ambulance, knowing that the suspects had been deploying explosive devices and that some remained unexploded on the street. Through this minefield, they moved the unconscious officer who was suffering from massive blood loss with no pulse or respiration. Firefighters Caruso and Menton tended to the officer's injuries as Officer Timothy Menton drove the ambulance to the hospital. The firefight continued for nearly 8 minutes as other officers arrived. A total of 5 bombs were deployed and countless rounds were fired by the suspects. Each of these officers and firefighters was exposed to grave risks as they worked together to resolve the incident and save the life of the wounded officer. The second suspect was located and arrested 20 hours later. Thank you all for your heroic actions, and congratulations. The next recipient of the 2012-2013 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is Belmore, New York Fire Department former Chief John Curley. On November 12, 2012, the Belmore Fire Department was called to a house fire where a victim was trapped inside. Along with his son, former Chief Curley, who remains a member of the Belmore Fire Department, heard the call and was first to arrive. A man in the driveway said that his elderly mother was trapped in a second-floor bedroom. With no fire vehicles on scene, former Chief Curley used a file cabinet topped by an old broken ladder to climb to the bedroom window. He broke the window with his bare hands, which exposed him to heavy black smoke billowing from the room. Without the protection of a hose line, breathing apparatus, or protective gear, he went inside knowing that he had only a few seconds before it would be engulfed in flames. Once inside, he found the woman lying unconscious. Former Chief Curley moved the woman to the window, lifted her out onto the wooden ladder, carried her down, and passed her to his waiting son, who gave her medical attention. Former Chief Curley suffered lacerations to his hands and face, and his actions, taken at extreme risk to his own personal safety, resulted in saving the life of the trapped woman. Thank you and congratulations, Chief Curley. Our next recipients of the 2012-2013 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor are Special Agents Brocklyn Barr, Christian Gillespie, Matthew Nagel, Joseph Montoya, Rodney Draper from the FBI's Hostage Rescue Team in Alabama. Special Agents Barr, Gillespie, Nagel, Montoya, and Draper are all recognized for their courageous rescue of an abducted 5-year-old child. The child was taken from a school bus on January 29, 2013, by a man who had shot and killed the bus driver after he refused to hand over 2 children as hostages. He held the child for 6 days in an underground bunker with multiple weapons and improvised explosive devices, making unreasonable and incoherent demands. The agents determined that negotiations would fail, so at grave personal risk to themselves, they conducted a rescue mission on February 4th. When they entered the bunker, the abductor shot at them from less than 5 feet away, using the child as a shield. He also detonated an IED during the initial assault and was believed to be attempting to detonate a second device. Without regard for their own safety, several more rescue team operators entered the bunker under heavy gunfire. One of them, Special Agent Barr, dropped into the darkened, smoke-filled hole, falling 10 feet to the floor. The impact of the landing dislodged the weapon, but he lunged unarmed into the darkness, found the boy, and shielded him with his body while Agents Gillespie, Nagel, Montoya, and Draper fought with the suspect just inches away. The exceptional courage and extraordinary decisiveness of the entry team ultimately prevailed, resulting in the death of the suspect and the rescue of the boy, who was unharmed. Thank you all and congratulations. And accepting on behalf of Special Agent Barr, who is deployed, is his wife, Jacqueline. The final recipient of the 2012-2013 Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor is Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Deputy Jenna Underwood Nunez. On April 27, 2013, Deputy Underwood Nunez, 5 months pregnant, was off duty and at a campground with her family when she observed a boy struggling in the lake about 100 yards from shore. Fully clothed, she swam toward the victim, only to find that the boy was trying to draw attention to his brother, who was submerged in 15 feet of water. She dove down through the murky water, found the boy at the bottom of the lake, dragged him to shore, and began life-saving measures to restore his breathing. He was airlifted to a local hospital and placed in stable condition. Thanks to the heroic actions of Deputy Underwood Nunez, the 17-year-old high school student made a complete recovery. Congratulations. So I've got one moment of privilege. We're going to take a group photo, so if all the recipients would please join us on stage. And, right, they're coming. Yeah. Okay, all right, I'm getting different instructions. Would the 2011-12 class please come up first? Is this everybody? Thank you. If I could bring the next class up.
Get us all?
Thank you again, and congratulations to all of our recipients. I know that I speak for the Vice President and the Attorney General when I tell you that it is an honor to be able to confer these medals upon you. And that concludes our program. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.